within us to accomplish infinitely more than we may.
Hold on. One more time. Run it back.
Now all glory to God, who is able through his mighty power at work within us.
Okay, pause. Okay, come on, King James.
Now to him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us.
Sandy, what you got? Okay, Nabi, what they talking about?
Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work.
Okay. But what's the constant thing that's in all of them? Who heard it? Who heard the common thread? You got it.
We think.
What is it, Brittany?
According to the power within us.
One more time.
According to the power within us.
Little louder.
According to the power that is within us.
Okay. According to the power that is within us. That means you got to participate in your blessing.
My God.
Whatever God is going to do in your life is going to have to come through the power that he has inside of you.
Just God. Y'all hear it?
Good evening, good people. It is that time again. It is Tuesday, Transformation Tuesday, that is, with BTC Live, with your girl, Kai Smith, also known as your hair loss advocate and the founder of the American Academy of Hair and Scalp Diseases, where we certify beauty pros to become functional trichologists. Now listen, tonight's topic is going to get a little deep. So I need you to bring your full self into this space with us tonight. Try to be as open and transparent as you possibly can be. Nobody is inside of your head but you. So you got to learn how to talk to you and talk good to you. That's what we're talking about tonight. You got to learn how to love you unconditionally. That's what we're talking about tonight. So come on in, because the topic is going to get good. I got a specialist in this building that's going to give you this good tonight, y'all. Topic is why self-forgiveness is key to thriving in business and purpose. And you might be wondering, well, what does self-forgiveness have to do with me building success? Everything. I said everything. So what I need you to do, because the air is going to get a little thin as we start elevating, right? When we ascend, that air gets a little thin. So I need you to put that oxygen mask on. Put it on first. Come on. Let's get ready to put that on right now. So then you can share this live out with the rest of your social media community. But make sure you get that oxygen mask on first, because the air gets thin the higher we get, right? And sometimes when we don't understand how to breathe on that level, we lose oxygen, we start losing momentum, we start losing faith, we start stumbling, we start getting frustrated with ourselves. Like, you know, I'm talking about Kai. Maybe y'all don't know. I'm just talking about, you know, my pathway to success. Sometimes when I hit stumbling blocks, roadblocks, and I can't seem to figure it out, and I start feeling like I'm not enough for this thing, it starts consuming me. Then I have to reset and then be patient with myself as I grow into it, instead of thinking I'm supposed to show up already equipped, right? There's a process. There's a process, and we got to learn how to respect our own individual process. And in that time of growing and stretching and becoming flexible, we have to know how to appreciate ourselves and love ourselves unconditionally. Know how to give ourselves grace and know when we actually need that push and a little bit of discipline, right? So if you've never joined me in this space before, welcome. You're in for a treat. You're in for a huge treat tonight. We like to speak about everything self-mastery in the space of Kai Smith. We like to speak about holistic things in the space with Kai Smith. We like to speak about the practitioners growing into their role as trichologists. We like to speak about helping our clients recover from hair loss. Those are all of the things that we talk about in this space, being healthier, mind, body, spirit. And so tonight, we're going to jump over into a topic that is near and dear to me, because I have my own work that I'm doing, continuing to do. And I like to share along the way. As I've started mastering certain things, I like to continue to spread and share what I've learned, because sometimes I wish I had a me in my life that would just be open and honest as I continue to grow. so that sometimes I don't have to take all the pitfalls. I can learn from other people. So I like to pay it forward and support you with some of those roadblocks as I learn about my own roadblocks. So I want to actually set the stage. I want to set the stage before we get ready to go into this thing. And so we're going to be talking about forgiveness, which falls under the topic of psychology. And so from a psychological and holistic and functional perspective, self-forgiveness plays a vital role in personal and professional growth. Unresolved guilt, self-blame, or past mistakes can create mental blocks, impacting your ability to fully show up in business and in life. By embracing self-forgiveness, you free yourself from emotional burdens, allowing your mind to focus on creative solutions, resilience, and authentic expression. So that's going to set the tone for where we are tonight. And then we're going to bring this specialist, this psychologist into the space to help us unpack all of that. And I know if any of you have been following me, you guys have heard about Dr. Joy, because Dr. Joy is the topic of conversation for all BTC events that we have. Everybody loves Dr. Joy to get up in their business and to show them how to get it right. So Dr. Joy K. Madison is an international coach, consultant, and speaker whose work spans 4 continents, y'all. As the former owner of South Los Angeles-based functional fitness company and a collegiate All-American athlete, Dr. Joy's methods highlight and value the importance of the mind-body connection. She is also the founder and lead content creator for Heal You Academy, an internal platform reserved for graduates of her coaching programs, which provides self-guided online courses promoting skills for socio-emotional wellness. In 2020, Dr. Joy further solidified her role as an educator, becoming a graduate professor in the Department of Marriage and Family Therapy at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. For years, in her role as program manager for Sisters Mentally Mobilized at the California Black Women's Health Project, Dr. Joy was responsible for the design and implementation of curriculum related to increasing awareness, decreasing stigma, and promoting advocacy around issues impacting and impeding the mental well-being of Black women and girls across the state of California. In the fall of 2021, Dr. Joy began an ongoing collaborative effort with the SEIU, United Healthcare Workers Union, to create a mental and emotional wellness curriculum centering and serving the needs of over 100,000 healthcare workers. Dr. Joy currently serves on the board of Color the Water, a nonprofit organization intent on reclaiming the history of representing diversity in surf culture through lessons, education, and media. She continues to seek opportunities to innovate and serve in an effort to contribute to a society which prioritizes the well-being of its citizens. Through curiosity, creativity, and community, she uses every medium at her disposal to elaborate on ideas about how to define, assess, and prioritize wellness for all. As you can tell, Dr. Joy is very well qualified to come to us this evening and to stand on the ID Behind the Chair platform to support us with increasing mental awareness for our practitioners. So I want you to get the opportunity to feel Dr. Joy's energy before we hop into this huge conversation that we're going to be unpacking tonight. So let me introduce you to her by way of video.
Just because. Danger, 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 threat, 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 threat. Things are happening constantly. And so all of you who are like, yeah, and I wear all these hats and I'm here to serve and the people and I gotta do this. This is this constant feeling of something's happening. Gotta act fast, gotta move now. Gotta save the day. It's you, your choices, your behaviors, the way you live your life. You are inherently the problem with yourself and not the world that we live in. And so what that allows them to do is displace their responsibility for the role that they play, the stress that we carry every single day. That we are tuned into what our bodies are telling us in such a way that we can tap into what the body needs, not what the world around us needs. And I am going to invite you to consider that you're here because of who's in here. Who you are in any situation is who you are in every situation. And when you start getting into what's going on with them on the literal inside, that's real business. That's why I said, in the world, not of it. I have the information. I apply it how I want to whom I want to.
All right, y'all. Y'all ready for this conversation? I want to bring to the stage Dr. Joy K. Madison. Good evening.
Hey, Kai.
How are you?
Cracking up. I'm over here cracking up. I'm so good. I'm cracking up because that compilation that you just showed is so funny. I'm just flashing back to those moments. We just really be in a zone at BTC. I so appreciate the space that you create and hold for us to really dive deep into some of the topics that we cover and discuss. And I'm just looking at how comfortable I'll be just saying what feels real and true for me in the moment.
Right. You do though, but that's why they love you. That's why they love you, because you are so open, honest, nurturing. You invite them, to themselves, not to you. You invite them to, engage themselves. And I think that's the beauty in it, is that you're inviting them to engage themselves,
Yes.
So listen, we got a whole conversation, I know you know where to start, because I'm just like, okay, this whole topic, why self-forgiveness is the key to thriving in business and purpose. This is everything. So I want to ask you, when you hear that topic, that title, there are a whole lot of things that I'm sure you're thinking about, but as it relates to the work that we do as beauty professionals in the space of trichology, what does that mean to me as a trichologist, having to engage people whom may not even be ready to have the conversations with themselves about the things that they're about to learn, about why they're losing hair or about why they're having scalp maladies. How do you, a person who is, as a practitioner, a person who is having difficulty with their own self-stuff, self-stuff, and they're trying to mask it, and they're just trying to be this success in their business, but they're falling completely apart personally, but they don't show that part on social media. All we see is their highlight reel about how they're transforming all of these lives for other people, yet they are internally dying. So why is this topic so important for that?
So I'll start with the first part that you were asking about, specifically, like if I'm going to service my clients, right? If people are coming in with hair loss, we know that that's a very vulnerable thing, right? And it's
Am I frozen or is Dr. Joy frozen? Can't tell. Okay, she's frozen. Okay, so there you go. You were frozen. So if you said anything, can you repeat? Rewind.
Absolutely. Yes, rewind. So what I was saying is, when you're thinking about being a practitioner who supports people and walks them through their journey of hair loss, we understand that that's a very vulnerable thing, right? To come in and say it's so vulnerable that many people would rather cover it up than deal with it. Just cover up the bald spot. Just put a wig or a weave over it or do something else, because I just don't want nobody to know, right? It's a very vulnerable thing. And so when somebody's coming in and trusting you with such a vulnerable part of their own lives, and you haven't taken the time to learn how to sit with your own vulnerabilities, your own moments where you may have missed the mark, or where you may have fallen short of your own standards, or where you may have, just done something that you don't necessarily want the world to know about. Hence what you were saying about they don't show that part on social, right?
Right.
So when you haven't taken the time to sit with your own stuff, it's going to be very difficult for you to effectively sit with someone else and their stuff that may be coming up. And they may not even talk to you about the things of their life that could have possibly led to the hair loss. But if they're working with you, Kai, I know it's going to be very hard for them to get with their clients and treat them in any kind of way without getting to the reality of what's going on, because we understand that hair loss, as you teach so brilliantly, is a symptom of something deeper. Yeah. And oftentimes that something deeper can be tracked back to emotions that we're holding on to that's causing our body to dysfunction, and then showing up as a symptom of hair loss that's trying to get our attention and say, hey, something's not right. And so I know if they're working with you, they're learning how to dig deeper into those issues. And if you dig deeper and ask other people those questions and stuff springs up and their stuff starts to mingle with your stuff and you ain't dealt with your stuff, that's going to be a problem. Now all we got is a bunch of stuff out here and nobody knows what to do with it because they came to you for help and you haven't done your own work.
Yeah.
So we get to, first and foremost, for our own well-being, we get to look at the things that challenge us. Because the thing about forgiveness, and let me know if I'm jumping ahead, but I'm excited. I want to get into it.
No, this is your segment, honey. Ain't no jumping ahead. I need you to guide us through this and tell us what we need to do.
Yes. Because the thing about forgiveness is the concept of forgiveness in and of itself implies that there is something that has been done that has, again, either missed the mark, fallen short of the standard, right? In some way, shape, or form, there's an ideal self, and then there's a real self, right? There's who I hope to be, and then there's who I actually am in this moment, how I'm showing up, and how the choices that I'm making is manifesting as the consequences of my life, right? And the experiences of my life. And so the concept of forgiveness itself implies that if someone needs to be forgiven, namely yourself, it's because you have fallen short of your own standards for who you are and who you hope to be in the world. Mm-hmm. Right? And so if there is an instance where there's a situation and the way that I handled it, the way that I approached it, the way that I responded to it is not quite the way that I would have hoped that I would. Right? It may not be a reflection of the kindness or the love or the compassion or the rationality or the logic or the whatever it is that I value. It may not, the choice that I made may not be a reflection of that. And I need to forgive myself. Mm-hmm. And the issue with that is if you don't forgive yourself, when we're talking about falling short, I said earlier that oftentimes if hair loss is a symptom, then there's something deeper going on. And often that something deeper has emotions associated with it. And those emotions can disturb our well-being, which can then lead to the symptoms that are trying to get our attention and help us understand what's going on, right? And so the emotion associated with unforgiveness is shame.
Yeah.
Because shame is, I have an expectation for who I'm supposed to be. And the experience that I'm living inside of as myself right now is missing the mark of that expectation. I am falling short of who I believe I'm supposed to be. The standard that I've created for how I want to live, how I want to show up, whether that's in my family, in my community, in my business, the standard that I have set for how I want to live, I have missed the mark and I have fallen short. And as a result of that, we experience shame. And if you do not address that shame, if you do not go through the process, because forgiveness is a process, it's not just, all right, I'm over it. No, it's a process. You got to unpack that thing and understand you over what? You say, I'm over it. Over what? Do you understand what the transgression was? Do you understand the impact that it had on you? Do you understand why it had that impact? Why does it feel so intense? Do you understand those things? And then when you say you have forgiven it, have you truly released the resentment associated with it? Have you truly released the sense of failure that is associated with it when you say, here's the mark and here's me missing it, right? Here's the mark that I'm aiming for when it comes to how I want to be and who I want to be. And I missed it.
I have a question for you. I want to hop in there.
Yeah.
Because so we're having this conversation about forgiveness, unforgiveness, and how that translates to the emotions of shame and how a person is falling short. you know, of their own standards that they have for themselves or the way they see themselves in the world. So I want to flip this thing. I really want people to understand what those attributes look like. Like let's look at, so if we have a person and you are counseling them and okay, and you don't know this person, but they come in, they're going through the sessions with you, and then you come to this realization that this person has a lot of unforgiveness for themselves. This person is filled with shame, embarrassment, you know, about how they're showing up. So can you give some examples of what those behaviors look like so that when we're encountering people, and this is okay, come on, Kai, bring it together, because I got a whole lot of stuff going on in my mind and I don't want to jump all over the place. So this is going to be a twofold question, right? All right. So first, how do we identify in ourselves when we are showing up shameful to ourselves? What does that look like? What kind of behavioral patterns does one have to be, if I'm saying, you know what, I'm on this journey, self-mastery, and I'm sick and tired of me. Like I'm sick and tired of me, and I'm trying to figure me out. And at the end of the day, I'm lost. Like I'm circling the drain with this. But the theme is that I haven't forgiven myself because I've been betraying myself in all sorts of ways. So what does that look like? What do those behaviors look like? Some of those. And then secondly, when you are encountering a person or persons that are riddled with shame, and you're showing up and it's always an issue, or you're starting to attract all of these same kind of people to you, what are some of those traits look like in a person who might be walking around this world with a big old ego because they're fearful and they're trying to camouflage all of the lack of confidence that they have? So go for it.
So the answer to both of those questions, the umbrella answer is hiding, right? When you are ashamed, you don't want anybody to see you because you are saying, I'm supposed to be this and I'm not. And I don't want anybody to know, so I'm going to hide, right? And so hiding might look like retreating, right? And maybe not connecting with people that you would typically connect with because that you don't want them to see you like this, right? So that might be retreating from social interaction, right? Not posting on social in the same way that you typically do, you know, and just generally hiding, not allowing yourself to be in spaces where people who know you, or at least know the version of you that you wanted them to know, not finding yourself in spaces where they can see the version of you that has missed the mark, right? So that could also look like lying, right? Wow. So going back to what I said earlier about the hair loss being so vulnerable, and some people don't want anybody to know about it and they'd rather cover it up than deal with it. They're ashamed.
Yeah.
So I'd rather put this wig on, put this weave on, do this other thing because I want to show up as the version of me that I want you to see. But I'm ashamed of the reality of what I'm really looking like right now. So shame in ourselves will cause us to hide. And the same is true for other people. Now, when we encounter somebody with shame, so when we experience ourselves hiding from and lying about the reality of our lives, that might be a clue that there's something happening with us that we don't want to confront and are therefore trying to avoid, hence the hiding and lying. And that's the same thing that other people will do. And the way that we will recognize it in them is that they will often become defensive, right? Because I don't want you to get too close. If you get too close up on me, you might see the truth. So I need you to back up. So if you get too close, you start asking too many intimate questions, you start getting in my business, I might start to push away, which again might look like distancing myself from the relationship, might look like snapping if you ask me a question, might look like, again, just sort of only showing you the parts of me that I feel comfortable showing you, which we need to make a distinction between somebody who just has a boundary and understand that not everything is for everybody, right?
Mhm.
And then the person who is hiding in shame. So the way that I would think about it is, imagine you have a wound, right? Because sometimes like emotional and psychological well-being is harder for people to grasp, but we can sort of relate to having a physical wound. So imagine you have a physical wound in your side and you're walking around the world with this wound. And because it's a fresh wound, it's not healed yet. The way you move through the world, you're going to be protecting that wound, trying to make sure nobody touches it, nobody bumps into you, nobody pokes it. You might even want nobody to see it. So you might wear a big trench coat over the wound. You might do all kinds of things because your primary concern is to guard the wound. So you're not really looking for opportunities. You're not freely moving through the world. You're not really connected to your environment and the people around you because your focus is on, don't touch my wound. Don't look at my wound.
You know what comes in my mind when I hear this wound? I liken that to a keloid.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's appearing to be healed on the outside, but really not healed on the inside. So the keloid typically is usually still tender, might be sore because the tissues on the inside didn't really heal that well. They healed faster from the outside and not the inner tissues. And so it looks healed, but it's not. Looks healed, but it's not. And so that's when you said that, it just put me in the mind space of a keloid.
Yeah. Because oftentimes, again, if I believe that I'm supposed to be a particular way, but that how I'm actually being is missing that mark, I don't want you to know that. So I'm going to protect that from you. I'm going to hide that from you. I'm going to tuck that away. And when that becomes my priority, I can't think about or focus on anything else. And we're talking about this in the context of our business. If when you come in to talk to me about what you have going on, and then you say something that gets in the mix with my stuff, now I'm like, oh, you done got too close to my stuff. Now I'm all in my head. This is something that we learn as a therapist. We talk a lot about what we call countertransference, right? Because I am a therapist and I'm here to support you and guide you through whatever you have going on, but I got my stuff too. So if I don't do my work to deal with my stuff and then your stuff comes up and then I'm triggered, now I can't be there to be fully present to hear what you have going on and support you and think about what kind of skills and tools I can offer you to help you navigate your situation because I'm in my head about my stuff. I'm not even in the room anymore. I'm somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you said something that took me back to an experience that I'm still working through. Right. And so when it comes to running our businesses, when it comes to working with our clients, when it comes to doing whatever services we are offering to the world, if we have not dealt with the things that cause us to feel shame, what that leads to is if I don't feel like I am making or hitting the mark of who I'm supposed to be, then that means I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Then that means I don't feel worthy of what I'm asking for. Because shame starts to lead to feelings of unworthiness. If I think I'm supposed to be this and I'm not, then what makes me think I'm supposed to have this? Supposed to be able to get that or do this, because the two are connected. I feel ashamed. I am missing the mark. I am therefore unworthy is often the story that runs in our minds. And you know what happens with unworthiness. When you don't believe that you're worthy, you don't go after the opportunities. You don't put in the effort because you think, what's the matter? What's the point anyway? It's not going to happen. Right? We start to have all these other negative stories attached to unworthiness that is rooted in shame because I haven't taken the time to examine the thing and forgive myself.
You know what? I can think of a time when I finished my trichology course, when I personally went through the course, I was so excited because it was calling for me. This next level was calling for me because clients were showing up needing these services. I didn't know what to do. I showed up needing my own self-help because I started losing hair. And so with that said, I needed me and so did my clients. So I went and I did the thing. I did the thing because I'm a go-getter, you know. I like being at the forefront. However, when I went and I got that certification and I came out and I didn't know that I didn't have what I needed until I got started trying to execute. That was the most shameful feeling that I had ever experienced. You want to know why it was shameful? It was shameful because I was so excited about what I was embarking on that I told everybody that had an ear. Okay, I told everybody that had an ear that could hear me. This is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm going to be able to do after that. And you know, look out, world, because here I come. Right. So when I finished that course and I couldn't do any of the things that I thought that I was going to be able to do, I faked it. Because I figured I will be able to, you know, stumble up on something. I'll be able to figure it out. So I'm just going to have to figure it out. Right. But you don't know what you don't know until you don't know. And so when you're void of the things that you need to bridge that gap, there's no way you're going to figure that out by yourself. I was at a loss, right? And so shameful because I was showing up representing myself as something that I had not yet arrived to. Because I had the white coat on. I was posing with all the equipment and I was trying to do this thing, this hair loss recovery. And so I was stumbling and faking my way through it until I finally had to be honest with myself and say, this ain't getting it. You can't take another person's nothing because you don't have everything that you need. Identify, be honest with yourself and look at the continuity in the consultations. Look at what's lacking here. You know what you need. You just don't know how to get it.
Correct.
How do I figure this out? But I was so shameful because I had blasted this across the world that this is what I was going to be able to do. Yet I couldn't do it. Yet I was still showing up as something that I wasn't, trying to figure it out. I thought I was going to figure it out. And I eventually figured it out. But that is the premise that these courses have been built on, because I was shamed. And I know there's so many other of you out there that are shameful because you market trichology, yet in the darkness of your chair, not in the light of social media, but in the darkness of your chair, you're secretly watching people's social media timelines to see if you can figure it out from a timeline, because you're hiding and you don't want to come out front because you too were like me, marketing yourself as something that you weren't yet. And now you can stand 10 toes down and say, I was lying, not for real. I didn't really know. That's why I'm here, because I've been you and I was shamed. And then finally I had to go ahead and pull that veil down and just step into my own stuff of what I didn't know so that I could stop hiding and I can get what I needed. And if that is you, you need to be at ID. I promise you do. But before I go into that, let's run a commercial real quick because we've been on here a little over 15 minutes. Let's run a commercial and we'll be right back, y'all. Share this to your communities. We'll be right back.
Turn your video on. Look at it. Record yourself. What you say?
I am accomplished.
Say it again.
I am accomplished.
With conviction.
I am accomplished.
Turn it off and play that back to you. Every time your inner critic starts getting loud on the volume, you turn that up. It's done.
It's done. It's done.
It's done. You're living a reverse engineered life. God already created you. God already finished you. You just have to now go through the obstacles to reach the higher portion of yourself. When you leave here, you will be higher. When you leave here, you will be higher. When you leave here, you will be higher. What you just do right there, you just exhale, huh? Do it again. And do it again. I am accomplished.
I am accomplished.
Repeat it again and exhale every time you do it.
I am accomplished. I am accomplished. I am accomplished. I'm accomplished.
Yes.
I am accomplished. I am ready. I am accomplished. Yes.
I am enough.
I am enough.
I am enough.
I am enough. I am accomplished.
I am enough for what God has given me.
I am enough for what God has given me.
I am not enough for what He's given you.
I am not enough for what He's given me.
That's meant for whoever you're trying to be enough for that's outside of you.
Many transformative moments at IDBTC. This space holds room for you. This space takes its time with you. God puts time on pause for you at ID, for you to come and be filled up with the things that you need for your next. While yes, this is a trichological intensive, and we're going to give you that trichology business, best believe. As Joy will tell you, I'm going to give you all that book. You understand? Every single last word in that book, I'm going to give it to you, right? Yeah. I don't hold anything back from you in that space on the level that I'm training you. But you are going to come there and you will not leave the same way that you came. This is why this room is only reserved for the people who are supposed to be there at that given time, which is why I refuse to overcrowd my room. I'm not looking for the masses to come into that space. I'm looking for the ones that God assigned to Houston, Texas on those 5 days to be in that space, to get a Dr. Joy, to get a transformation in mindset. Because we are always trying to elevate, yet mindset is the last thing that we want to touch. You take you everywhere you go. You can go low and you can go high. You gonna be there. Doesn't matter. So we have to learn how to till the garden of our minds. We have to learn how to replenish the soil of our minds. Because in every season, we need something different. And what we need to understand is when the seasons change. Some of us are in expired seasons. Some of us are in premature seasons. And see, that's how the enemy robs us. We spend our time looking at the past, trying to redo it, or we spend our time looking forward to the future, trying to figure out how we're going to get it there. But we never spend our time in the right now. And that's because a lot of the 99.9% of the time, I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. 99.9% of the time, you're running from you because you don't like the you that you are right now. So if you didn't like the you that you were then in your expired season, your past season, how the hell you going to like the you that you trying to become in the future when you won't deal with the you right now? Because the you right now is what's going to make the difference in the future. The you right now can't do nothing with what happened in the past. So it's time for us to put things on pause so that we can nurture ourselves. We out here trying to beautify customers, trying to give them their best life, trying to give them hair loss recoveries. But the truth of the matter is you need to start at home. And that's starting with you. And I am not exempt from that. I spend a lot of time on myself. I read a post today from someone on Instagram that I like to follow. I can't remember his name right now. But his post said, if you spent 1 hour a day working on yourself, you will be amazed by the changes that you will make. But you know why? It's hard to spend that 1 hour a day on ourselves, because we lack discipline, we lack consistency, and we want something right now. And nothing is going to happen right now. It is the compound effect that gives you the desire that you're looking for. It's the small things that you do every day consistently that's going to show up and slap you in the face. And you're going to be like, who that girl? Who this woman? That's what I be saying about myself. I be like, hey girl, you. Like, you are doing a good job. Go Kai, go Kai. That's how I be in the mirror. Like this little girl on on YouTube. She's, I don't know, this is an old video, so she might have been 5, or she get on top of her sink and she like, I love myself. I love my house. I love my mommy. I love my cousins. I love my life. She just loved every single thing. She's 5. How many of y'all wake up like that? How come that inner child can't come out and say, I love this. I love me. I'm like, I walk down my stairs. I have mirrors coming down my stairs. And I be like, I love you, girl. You doing a good job today. And I just keep on walking, because those are the little messages that we have to tell ourselves. Because how you gonna tell somebody else you love them, they doing a good job, but you overlook the person that you look at in the mirror every day and never once say a word to her or to him? Like, that's self-betrayal number 1. I'm turning it back on over to you. I'm turning it back over to you, Joy. Come on. I'm all in your backyard. I ain't a psychologist. I ain't got the licenses. And
no, it's okay. But there's so much value in the reality of our lived experience right now. So I appreciate you calling our attention to the present moment, because that's really all we have. Is this moment and the choice for what we're going to do with it. And if what we choose to do is going to be a reflection of the truth of who we are, not who we hope to be, not who we think we should be, not who somebody else told us we ought to be, not some expectation, the truth of who I am right now. Based on that, if I am willing to sit with, accept, and own that, then I am empowered to make a choice about what I want to do about it, right? And so, if we're talking about manifesting our lives and creating this sort of, you spoke about, visioning for the future. Okay, so when you do that, when you see yourself inside your future, Kai, you know this, I started doing running 2 miles a day. I started maybe like a couple months ago, maybe like a month and a half ago, running 2 miles a day. Where that started for me is that I continue, when I sit down, I visualize myself inside of my future. So it might be at home, I might be on vacation, I might be at work, wherever I am. I like to see myself in that place. And recently in my visions, I kept seeing myself in that place. And Shorty was fit. Okay, she was out here. She was out here. I said, well, wait a minute, that ain't how I'm gonna look like that if I look like this. Like, this ain't something.
It wasn't connected, huh?
Yeah, not quite. What do you say? The curl never really quite right. Curled. So I was looking like, I'm seeing me in the vision, and that's me. I'm looking, that's me, ain't it? That's me, okay. So if that's me, and I look like that, then up there in the future, something got to give today.
Like, what I got to do right now?
Yeah, to get to that, what I see, I got to do something today, right now. I got to start forming the habits today that are going to get me to the version of me that I see, that I am working towards, that I am praying for, that I'm investing in, that I'm sacrificing for, all the things that we do to grow our businesses and our brands.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We go and invest money in the courses, and we take the pictures, and we do this, and we hire the professionals to help us with that. And you doing all of that, and you ain't taking care of home. Kai said, y'all doing everything but getting with the mindset. Because there are 3 levels of creation: thought, word, deed. What you think, what you say, and what you do. Those are each 3 levels of the creative process over which we have complete control. What you think, what you say, and what you do. So if you're not minding what's going on here, if you're not thinking about what you're thinking about, you're not checking your self-talk, you're not looking at the parts of yourself that you're ashamed of, that you're hiding from, that you don't want folks to know about, if you're not confronting those parts of yourself and you're continuing to pretend and hope no one finds out, the version of you that you think you're working towards will never exist. Because that version of you needs you to deal with this version of you today. And there is nothing in this world, no matter how great it is, how powerful it is, how innovative it is, how advanced it is, it doesn't matter. Nothing that you can hold in your hand right now became what it is before it was just somebody's idea. Everything that we can see, experience, or whatever in this moment started off as a thought in somebody's mind that they then acted on to make it real. So what you think you see for your life, until you get your mind right around that and make a choice today to grasp the beliefs and behaviors that are going to move you towards that vision, it will be a dream, and that is all. It will never be your lived experience. And so to be able to say, okay, this is what I see for myself, this is the desire that I have for myself, then you said, Kai, you were reverse engineering. So if this is the promise, right? Because if we're saying God gives us the desires of our hearts, it's not just that God gives us the things like, oh, you want that? Here you go. It's no, if it is a desire in your heart, it's because God gave you that desire. God put it there. So if you have a desire that is divinely delivered to you, that is God is saying, I'm placing this on your heart for you to see yourself in this way and serve in the world in this way. And if that's the vision you have, and you are going to be the person who's going to honor and be a good steward of that, you have to acknowledge the things that are the barriers to getting in the way of you actually living that thing out. And that requires you to be exquisitely honest about what is happening with you right now that is not in alignment with, is not a reflection of that reality and that truth. And it's not about judgment. And I say this every time I get with y'all at BTC, because I know this starts to sting. I know I start to get in your business. You start being like, oh, I wasn't ready for this. I thought they were just going to teach me about follicles. Right? We're getting in here. And so I have to say this, when you look at yourself and you see the things you don't like, because we will, we all have those seasons. Even when we walk down the stairs, catch a glimpse of ourselves in the mirror and say, girl, you did that. It's also a little piece in our mind that's like, okay, but you didn't. That's another thing you didn't do.
Yeah.
You did that, but you ain't quite did that one, right? And that's okay. Yeah. That's called accountability. Yeah. That's when you love yourself enough to tell the truth, because you cannot close the gap until you acknowledge it, right? And so you cannot close the gap between who you are and who you want to be until you acknowledge that there is in fact a gap. I'm not quite there yet.
So right? Let me ask you this, because you're saying something. Let me ask you this question. We're trying to close a gap, right?
Yes.
When you are aware, you're trying to close a gap, because let's just be honest. Everybody's trying to be something.
Sure.
Intentionally or unintentionally. We all trying to do something. Right. But when you are intentional about your growth, and it's not by happenstance that you just show up and be like, oh, yeah, like a reaction. That was a good job. Like, we proactive over here. We are intentionally setting ourselves up strategically for success. Right. So what happens, because you're saying that gap is acknowledgement. That I have to acknowledge that I need something. I have to acknowledge that I am lacking something and that I need to implement this thing or that thing or all the things. I have to acknowledge it first. And I have to be honest with myself to say, you don't have all of that. You, okay, Kai, you are trying to rise to this. I have, because I like using myself, right? And I like using myself because as a leader, sometimes we can come to these platforms and make people think that it was a cakewalk climbing up that ladder, and it's not, right? So when I was building AAHSD, I had a coach who told me, you're gonna have to be smart to do that. Not saying that I wasn't, but they were making me aware of what I was taking on. Right. And so one might have taken away from that. So you saying I'm not smart enough for this? That is a self-talk. That is a self-talk response, right? That's being triggered if you think that that's what the person was trying to tell you, that you weren't smart, because you're already telling yourself that you're not enough for it, right? And then also that could be saying, for me, I looked at it as I am a life learner. I am a student for life. So I know what I need to know to get this thing started. And I will continue to grow in it. And God will show me the next and the next and the next. I'm never going to know everything I need to know to get started. And that's the biggest mistake that we can make, is think that you don't know enough yet to get started. Now, I ain't saying be a fool and then you don't know nothing about what you're getting ready to do, and then you jump out there. You know, when you're being honest with yourself, when you are prepared enough to jump out there and get a thing started. So for the person who's trying to fill that gap, and the gap needs to be filled with acknowledgement, what happens to the person that denies themselves of the acknowledgement? Like, they don't want to acknowledge that they need to acknowledge. Like, what does that look like?
Stagnation and frustration. You're not moving from where you are, and then you start to get frustrated by that, which can then lead to resentment and doubt and lack of faith and all of these other things, right? Because if you are trying to get to a place and there is a blockage, that blockage being a belief that you hold or a behavior that you continuously engage in that leads to a particular outcome, and that blockage, you don't address that blockage, and you keep trying to, you either don't do the work to become aware of it, or you are aware of it and you keep trying to pretend you're not, you're going to keep running into that same barricade over and over and over again. And you do that enough times, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to start to doubt, well, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe I'm not the right person. Maybe I didn't really hear God. Right? You start to do that. You start being like, oh, maybe not. And then you detour and go somewhere else, somewhere you ain't never meant to be, because you were right where you were supposed to be, but you mistook this idea, this thing that showed you, when you saw that you, that was maybe a little incongruent with the future version of you that you know you are desiring to be and working towards becoming. When you got that glimpse of the truth of who you are in this moment, and those two things weren't the same, you allowed that to tell you that it was a lie. The vision was a lie, and that's not true. The vision is always going to require you to expand and evolve. That's the point of this. That's the point of this. And that's why Kai said, you're going to see what you need to know to do right now. And then you're going to do that. And then you're going to hit your next level. And you know what that next level is going to do? Reveal to you whatever your work is that you need to do to get beyond that. And then you're going to get in. So there's like a leap, and then you level off. And then it's time, and you got to leap again. Then you level off. Then you got to leap again. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. That leap is never any less scary than it was the last time. You've leapt 1,000,000 times, and it's scary every time.
You better talk about it.
because you got to face another level of yourself. It's a new level of vulnerability. You got to peel back another layer. You got to dive a little bit deeper. You got to show up a little bit bigger. You got to do the things that were not required at level 1, right? You didn't have to learn multiplication in first grade. So math was easy. So you thought you knew it until you got to 3rd or 4th grade. Now we doing, wait, what? Long division? What you talking about?
Right.
Right. I didn't even know numbers did this. I thought we was 2 apples and 3 apples and we got 5 apples. What is this?
Right.
And so every new level requires us to step up too. And stepping up often looks like splitting ourselves open and looking at the parts of us that are weighing us down. You can't step up if you're weighed down. If you're weighed down by lies, if you're weighed down by fears, if you're weighed down by expectations, if you're weighed down by unforgiveness because you believed the lies, you gave into the fears, and you didn't manage the expectations. And so now you have a shame that you're carrying that until you examine it, until you understand the nature of it, until you give yourself permission to release it. And I mean, truly release it. I don't mean just say, I don't care about that. I mean, actually not have an attachment to that story and the emotions associated with it until you do that work. And it takes time to uncover what that is, to sit with the impact of what it has done, to decide if you feel like you can forgive it. Because sometimes the things that we have done, the choices that we have made are so far outside of ourselves that we got to just first give ourselves permission to say, this is actually forgivable. I can come back from this. I can be redeemed from this. This doesn't have to be my story. You got to decide that before you can actually forgive yourself. You got to say, this is forgivable and I am worthy of being forgiven of this. I can move past this. This is something that happened, something that I did, but it's not who I am. And that can be true when you decide it's not who I choose to be, which requires you to be in this moment. I might have chosen that then because it might have felt like my best or only option then, but today I don't choose to show up like that.
We get to do it over.
Every day you open your eyes, you get to do it over.
Yeah. And so what do you say to the person who has beaten themselves up internally and they don't feel like they get to do it over, right? And and not because they don't want to do it over, because we can have a desire inside of us, right, to do it over. We can talk all the things to ourselves, right? But that subconscious has a way of snatching the rug out from under our feet. And not just the subconscious is triggered when we go around people that know the older version of us, or they know all the things that we've done, and we don't know how to come out of those spaces, and we keep showing up to those people and we're shamed because those people know our story, or the story that we continue to live or tell ourselves that we deserve, right? And so to the person that really wants to change, but they don't have another space to go to feel accepted, so they keep trying to heal in the same environment that made them sick.
Kai, you have nailed it. You have nailed it. Because listen to what you're saying. It's the people around us who want to hold us to that old story of who we've been, so that even when we decide we want to show up differently, everybody else got something to say, because you used to do how you used to be, and I know how you could be, and I know how you do, and that's them. So when we are measuring our expectation of ourselves and we decide that we've fallen short, oh, okay, I had an expectation and then I didn't quite hit the mark, but I'm choosing today to show up differently. And now that I'm clear about where the mark is, I'm striving to hit it as closely as I can until I actually do. Bullseye, right? So when you make that choice for yourself and you find it hard, you're like, I don't know what to do. It is often because you're still trying to convince someone else of your worthiness.
Come on.
It's the people around you who have not yet caught up to the new you. I used to be like that. You're right. I sure did. Today, I'm not. Right. And so what I would say to you is when you have that hard time, if this is you, if you are the person who is like, I know I need to forgive myself. I know I need to get rid of the shame. I know I need to come out of the shadows of hiding and lying and stand in the truth of who I am. Because even if the truth of who I am right now has fallen short of who I know I can be right now, as I breathe this breath, I have an opportunity to make a new choice. If that's you and you're ready to make a new choice and you feel shackled by somebody else's expectation of you because they want to dangle over your head who you used to be and how you used to act, what I need you to ask yourself is, based on what and according to whom is their standard the one that I should be striving for? Based on what and according to whom? Because if their story about who you are doesn't have anything to do with you, then you get to let them have it. You can have your story about who I am. I'm not writing your story, I'm writing mine. So if your story of who I am ended 5 years ago and you ain't got the updated version, the sequel, the part 2, and you don't know to be continued, we still doing this thing. If you haven't caught up, I'm gonna let you sit back there 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, last week. Okay? I'm gonna let you sit back there because what Kai said today is we don't live in the past. We learn from it and we move on. So when you feel shackled by somebody else's expectation or somebody else's story of who you are because of who you have been, your last decision does not have to be your last decision.
But guess what, Joy? If phones get to have updates, as many as they want, how come humans can't have as many updates as they need to? I mean, because I'm constantly saying, seeing on my iPad, you haven't plugged in to get the latest update. Or if I just don't get some of the updates, it just, the system iOS just ain't gonna function right? So here's the thing. If the persons that you are around haven't got the latest update, then stop functioning around them.
Here's the other thing, Kai, since we're leaning in, let's talk about it. Let's wrap up on this, because what you said is the notification will pop up and says you need to be plugged in for the update to occur.
Yeah.
Are you plugged into your power source for your update to occur? Or are you sitting around a bunch of other folks who also have dead batteries? And so their operating system hasn't been updated in who knows how long. They're still functioning on something that is outdated and therefore probably not functioning correctly at all. And then you're using their standard as a measuring stick for who you ought to be. Why would you do that?
Because when we're around people that are either stagnant or they're growing, we become products of our environment. You can't help it. You become a product of that environment, whether it's good or bad. It is just the way of life, is law, right? So at the end of the day, if a phone can have an update and change, or let's just forget even about the update. Hey, Mitch, let's forget about even the update. I just turned on my computer, went in my email and had a message from Apple, and the whole new 16 iPhone is coming out, and it only thing is changing is like the cameras. So you might not need to have the update, but maybe you need a whole new phone. And in that whole new phone, you might not have a whole overhaul, but maybe you just went a little deeper in one little area of your life that then will etch out those that don't need to be there. It don't have to be a whole overhaul, because see, with an come on, God, and show me this real quick. Because with an update, that with an update, follow me, y'all. When we are getting an update, that means that we still have the same device that we get the update on, which means you got to have access to that device to get that update. But when you get a whole new phone, that means that some people just ain't gonna have access to that feature because it's a whole completely new phone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to be that big of a change made to it, but it's change enough that you gonna need a whole new phone to get access to it. So maybe you need to be a whole new for them to get access to you. So maybe you need to be like the iPhone 16 and not keep your old phone that's just gonna give you an update to the iOS and it still give you access to the same stuff that you've been having access to. I mean, I don't know, but if phones can do it, why people can't?
I don't know who said they can't. I don't know who said they can't. So here's what I would like to offer you. Here's what I would like to offer you. Just to kind of tie it back to what we said. And here's the beautiful thing about unforgiveness, which I know sounds really ironic, but the beautiful thing about all of this is that it just wants to show us ourselves. It's just a mirror. That's why it's not about judgment. It's about awareness. Now that you know about it, you can choose differently. So the beautiful thing about unforgiveness, and when we find ourselves acting in ways that are indicative of that, right? The hiding and the lying and the protecting of the wound and being defensive because you don't want that. When we find ourselves behaving in that way, now that we have this awareness, because we've had this talk, we can say, uh-oh, what's going on there? And that's pointing me to something. And the beautiful thing about unforgiveness and the shame that is associated with it, because again, remember going back to the top of our session, what I said to you is shame is when you have missed the mark of your expectation for who you ought to be in the world. The beautiful thing about that is that it's your expectation. You said this is what you wanted for yourself. So if you determine that, then you get to figure out your path to that. You don't have to consult with anybody else. And particularly if you don't feel like the insight that they're offering is helpful for you, you can choose to disregard and deny that and focus on the things that you believe are moving you towards what it is you see for yourself. So when you have a standard that you've set and then you see that you have fallen short, you get to check in with you and say, okay, how can I recover and keep going today?
Yes.
What does grace look like for me on my journey right now? I don't have to worry about what you thought about how I used to be and you trying to hold me to that, who I was, who I used to be on my old operating system. I said, I missed the mark of who I see myself as. And so I'm choosing grace, which finds a way forward. So the shame just wants to show you and invite you to choose differently and to make that choice according to what you believe about who you are truly at the core of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good. What this is offering you right now.
That's good, because at the end of the day, it's you against you, not anybody else. It's Kai against Kai. And when the unhealed versions of us want to make it Kai against all the other people, and that is a person who is refusing to take accountability for themselves, and it's not taking accountability for me and my actions and the way I see things does not give people an out. It is not saying that they just get to be who they want to be. I don't have to concern myself with who they want to be because I'm too concerned with who I need to be for me. And so Trisha is saying, so some people are so happy and stuck where they are and are not going to change. And you know what? I am completely happy with those who are stuck and not going to change, because what ends up happening is instead of them getting the update on the iOS, I get a whole new phone, which means that they don't get access to me because the newer version of me won't even be able to get their frequency. The newer version of me don't even have the contact in the phone for that to even connect. And so I don't have to concern myself, or people don't have to concern themselves with other people's growth or lack thereof when you're so focused on yours, because you will outgrow them so much that they will feel uncomfortable being in your space and they will knock themselves off, that because they won't feel like they fit in anymore if you just keep growing. Just keep growing, and you won't have to worry about them, because they will feel uncomfortable being around you and they won't want to keep showing up. But the thing is, when we continue to worry about other people's behaviors and what it is that they're doing or they're not doing, then that means that we're denying what we are doing and what we're not doing. And so the idea is to take ownership of what it is you're doing, the work that you need to do, so that you're not focused on their frequency. And that way, if you don't align, the frequencies will never come in contact with each other, and we will never have to worry about making someone feel uncomfortable, someone saying that we change. Yeah, I didn't have a choice but to change. But if they were working on themselves, they would know that I didn't have a choice, because they know that they don't have a choice. And they got to change. So it's about, at the end of the day, it's about being accountable to self. Joy, I want you to, can you briefly share, before we get ready to get out of here, because I want to share a few more things before we actually wrap. Can you share with the viewers and the people who are going to be watching us on the replay why they need to meet you at ID when this is supposed to be just about trichology?
Let me tell you something. Ain't nothing never just about nothing. Okay. Like, I'm going to say that in this space, because I have seen time and time again what Kai is offering, the gifts and the blessings that are coming forth through this program that you're going to learn, that's going to enrich your business. Those seeds need to be planted in good soil. And that soil is your mind and your spirit. And the session that I do when we open up this 5 days tills that soil and prepares it to receive the seed, so that that seed can be planted and produce a harvest in the future of your business and your brand. So the reason why you need to come and see me there is because you need to have the soil of your mind and your spirit tilled and prepared to receive the blessings and the information that is going to be a huge step towards the vision that you have for your brand as a trichologist. You need to meet me there, because everything you will do stems from you. And I want to teach you how to take care of home. You are your own home. That's why you need to meet me there.
That's good stuff. Not only meet Dr. Joy there, but let's talk about who else is going to be in the building. Let's run it. We have Marsha Mayfield, tax and business strategist, teaching you all the things to keep your money in your bank account and to not just look like money, but to actually have money, to actually build wealth, to understand how you're going to build the wealth, to know the documents you need to have in place so that you can continue to build wealth. I love having her in the building, because she is straight to the, she ain't gonna cut no corners. She's gonna give you the business straight up. And I love someone who's just gonna tell me exactly what I need to know and not try to fluff, if you will. What we got next? Dr. Joy K. Madison, you already heard from her tonight. We have Dania Durden. Dania Durden is going to be teaching you on the scalp and gut microbiome. This is the portion where you will become certified as a scalp microbiome specialist, which is essential to your business, as a lot of your clients are coming in with scalp maladies. And it's not just what we see on the scalp that's the problem. It's what's lurking in the gastrointestinal system that's causing these issues. We want to help you connect the dots with that, so that you can stop leaning so much on your back bar, your shampoos and your conditioners to do this work for you, and even your detox systems for that matter. We want to show you how to really eradicate what's going on the scalp. So this session is dedicated to that. Who we got next? We have Tam Waters. She is new to the ID platform. Tam is coming in with all the non-surgical hair replacement information, showing you how to do this from a trichological perspective. And also, she's going to be sharing with you a few additional streams of incomes coming from medical billing and also receiving government contracts, how to align your business to do that. Marche is essential in this piece also, because there's so many things that you have to have in place before you can actually take advantage of what Tam is going to be sharing with you on this platform. What else we have? We have Jessica Davis. She is an AHSD educator. Jessica has a unique niche in trichology, where she's going to be supporting us from a natural hair care perspective, looking at the terrain of the scalp for someone who's wearing any kind of natural hair or locks, understanding how to support them if they're candidates for the styles that they're desiring, so that we don't exacerbate issues that are already present on the scalp. Jessica, we love her in that space because she's giving us a different element than what we've had at ID before. Who else do we have? And we have Mr. Chris Bond, branding and marketing specialist. It's personal is his subject. He's showing you how to build a personal brand. And with all the newly acquired skill set that you're going to be getting, you're going to need to align with Chris Bond so that you can reintroduce yourself as the authority behind the chair in all things hair loss and scalp specialty, as well as your cosmetology field that you came with. So aligning all of those things together to build an additional 6 figures and creating that digital footprint, you're going to need the support of Chris Bond. What else we got? And we got Miss Micheline Barber, impacting the minds of millions, one at a time. She is the founder of Impulse Summit and Impact Beauty. Micheline supports us with opening the event, also aligning you and priming your mind for all that joy is going to pour into you. Micheline has been hand selected to be in this space with me because she's a pioneer in the industry. And you have to know how to continue to remain relevant in this space. And you have to be able to align yourself spiritually in order to continue to grow. So she brings that element into the building. We are excited about everything that she brings into that space to then be introduced to Dr. Joy. Oh, that first day is explosive. All right, what else we got? Woo! I love that girl right there. That's Kai Smith, yours truly. Listen, all things trichology is what I do. All things trichology, bringing you the best trichological experience, taking that theory, turning it into practical implementation, and then showing you how to build an additional 6 figures with that thing. That's fire. That's what I do all day long, every day. So you don't want to miss that. You want to join us October 19th through the 23rd, live in Houston, Texas. Now listen, enrollment is actually getting ready to close on the 23rd of September. So you ain't got much time to get in the building, but we are holding a space for you if you're holding a space for yourself. So meet us there October 19th through the 23rd. Houston, Texas. If you got questions about anything that we're doing, you can always feel free to inbox me on my social media platforms. I will respond. But if you just cannot make it to ID because you're just not ready, God didn't give you the nudge, it ain't for you yet, I respect it, sis, bruh. But on September 16th, you can meet me virtually for this lecture, Pharmaceutical Drugs versus Your Clients. Why? Simply because pharmaceutical drugs are silently killing your clients, not just their hair, but their entire health. And I need to give you this business. For 3 hours, I will be lecturing you. Right now, you can buy in for your tuition at $175. Enrollment will close on Sunday. But next Monday from 9 to 12, meet me virtually for this lecture. I promise you, you will not look at hair the same. So if you can't get the whole plate, through the 5-day incubator, come and get an appetizer through this lecture that we're presenting by AHSD. You will not be disappointed. The link is actually on the flyer. If you are following me on Facebook or Instagram, you will be able to go to my social media page to see, to find this link, but meet us there. Meet us there. Don't let trichology pass you by. Don't turn a blind eye to the era of styling that we're in now, because trichology is the new cosmetology. Listen, we getting ready to wrap this thing up tonight. Dr. Joy, what you want to lead the people with?
I just want to invite you all to be open to whatever part of this session this evening stood out to you, spoke to you, caused you to look up and say, hold on, she might be onto something. Let that inkling grow into a new awareness that inspires new action, that leads to new choices, which has no choice but to show up as a new outcome. And continue to measure yourself and your life's experiences against the standards that you have set, against the desires that God has placed in your heart, and against the vision that you see yourself walking into in this moment. And just trust that what you have now, the awareness that you have now, is going to be your first step into your next level.
Take the step.
Yeah.
We'll see you there. Now, lastly, I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina for Impulse Summit next weekend. Not this one coming, but the following one. So if you ain't got your ticket, you need to run on over there to impulsesummit.com and grab your ticket, because I will be there. And when I tell you I've got 2 fire classes, 1 main stage, we're going to be talking about why your clients are talking about their blood tests are normal, yet their hair is coming out in your chair. That is loaded. We're going to look over some case studies so that we can uncover what the doctors are overlooking. This is why you need to become a trichologist, sis, bro, because there's so much being overlooked in allopathic care that it's not even funny. Your clients are sitting in your chair and you're going along with the okie doke. Their tests are normal, but their hair is coming out. There's nothing normal about that. So we need to bust this thing wide open. I'm sharing this at Impulse Summit along with another class that I'm doing on Monday, Fade to White. So we're going to transition from this black coat right on into this white coat, because our clients need us on the front line. They need us to increase their longevity. Can you tell I'm passionate about it? And I love it. So come on and join me. Come on and be a part of this movement with me. I love y'all. Y'all have an amazing night, and I'll see you where I see you. When we know exactly what we need, we can cater to what we need that's going to get us the most for less time, less time spent. Okay, over here.
I'm just going to say this is my 3rd time doing this. And every single time I get renewed and empowered with some new information. And like you said, it shortens my time frame where I'm working on a client, because I'm a stickler for time when I'm in the salon.
And make sure aware that when you say the highest number service, we always pick the price. Like, oh, I could get $400 for doing a smoothing treatment, but that smoothing treatment might take you 5 hours, whereas you can do a scalp resurfacing treatment in an hour for like $200 or something. So it just make you aware.
You hit the nail on the head, because anybody who has scalp needs a detox. I can show you how to make 6 figures with your detox without ever seeing another new client, because everybody that sits in your chair has skin and they need it.
So I got a question. So say they get the 3 detoxes, but they don't change how they eat or any of that, and it keeps coming back. Do they just keep getting treatments?
They want to keep spending their money with you.
Okay.
If you cannot commit to the detox, I cannot do your hair, because I understand what's happening there, and I can't turn a blind eye because you don't want to align.